Have you ever wondered about the origins of the first gun? Who made it and why? Let's take a trip back in time to 9th century China. It was there that gunpowder first sparked into existence, initially not with the intent of destruction, but rather for medicinal and mystical practices. An alchemical mixture of sulfur, charcoal, and potassium nitrate, gunpowder, was believed to possess the power to prolong life and even confer immortality. But as the centuries rolled on, so did the evolution of its uses. By the 10th century, this mystical concoction had found its way into the first rudimentary firearms, known as fire lances. These were simple tubes, filled with gunpowder and attached to spears. They were cumbersome and unpredictable, yet they represented a significant shift in the art of war. So, the first guns were far from what we know today, but they marked the beginning of a new era in warfare. Though the fire lances were the first step, the journey from cannons to handheld firearms was a long one. In the 13th century, the development of cannons marked a significant milestone in the evolution of weaponry. These formidable machines, often cast from iron or bronze, were capable of hurling heavy projectiles over vast distances. Cannons brought a new dimension to warfare, especially in siege scenarios and naval battles. From the towering walls of a castle to the wooden hulls of ships, nothing could stand in the way of a well-aimed cannonball. But even as cannons were changing the face of warfare, a smaller, more personal weapon was on the horizon. By the 14th century, the first handheld firearms, known as hand cannons, had made their appearance. These primitive firearms were essentially miniature cannons. A user would pour gunpowder into a small barrel, place a projectile on top, light the fuse, and hope for the best. As rudimentary as they were, these handheld firearms offered an individual soldier a level of power that had hitherto been reserved for large artillery pieces. However, the hand cannon was far from perfect. It was heavy, difficult to aim, and the process of loading and firing was slow and dangerous. It was clear that further innovation was needed. The 15th century brought the next major development in firearms, the matchlock gun. This device featured a lock mechanism that held a slow-burning match. When the trigger was pulled, the match was brought into contact with the flash pan, igniting the gunpowder and firing the weapon. This was a significant improvement over the hand cannon, as it allowed the user to aim the weapon properly before firing. The matchlock gun paved the way for other lock technologies, such as the wheel lock and flintlock, which would dominate the world of firearms for the next few centuries. These advancements not only made firearms more reliable and easier to use, but they also made them more accessible to the common soldier. The evolution of firearms was a slow process marked by incremental improvements over centuries. The 19th century saw the birth of what we would recognize as modern firearms. Let's rewind a bit to the 17th century first. During this time, the flintlock mechanism was invented. It was a significant leap in firearm technology, superseding the matchlock and wheel lock mechanisms that were in use. The flintlock was a true game changer, providing a reliable means of igniting gunpowder that was less affected by weather and more efficient. This mechanism dominated for over 2 centuries, becoming the standard for both military and civilian firearms. However, the march of progress never ceases. In the early part of the 19th century, the percussion cap was developed. This brilliant innovation replaced the flintlock spark with a small explosive cap that ignited when struck. This new ignition system was more reliable, safer, and allowed for the creation of breech-loading rifles. These rifles could be loaded from the back rather than the muzzle, dramatically increasing their rate of fire and changing the face of warfare. Around the same time, a young man named Samuel Colt was working on a new type of firearm. He invented the revolver, a gun that could fire multiple rounds without reloading. This was a revolutionary concept, offering the ability to fire several shots in quick succession. Colt's invention quickly became popular, with the Colt Paterson, named after the city where it was produced, becoming one of the most famous guns of the era. The development of the cartridge was another significant innovation of the 19th century. This was a single, self-contained unit containing a bullet, gunpowder, and a primer. The development of cartridges made reloading faster and easier, and allowed for the design of more complex firearms. The 19th century was a time of rapid advancement in firearms technology, setting the stage for the guns we know today. The 20th and 21st centuries saw further developments in firearms, driven by 2 world wars and ongoing technological progress. In the early part of the 20th century, the invention of semi-automatic and automatic firearms revolutionized warfare. Semi-automatic firearms, unlike their single-shot predecessors, could fire one bullet after another with a single pull of the trigger. Automatic firearms took this concept a step further, allowing for continuous fire as long as the trigger was held down and there were bullets in the magazine. This firepower was a game changer on the battlefield, making warfare more lethal than ever before. During the Cold War, the development of assault rifles such as the AK-47 and the M16 marked another significant milestone in the history of guns. The AK-47, designed by Mikhail Kalashnikov, became a symbol of Soviet power, while the M16 became synonymous with American military might. These rifles were lighter, more compact, and more powerful than traditional rifles, making them the weapon of choice for many armies around the world. As we moved into the 21st century, the focus shifted from firepower to precision and control. The development of smart guns, which use biometric technology to ensure that only authorized users can fire the weapon, emerged as a potential solution to prevent accidental shootings and illegal use of firearms. However, the adoption of smart guns has been slow, with many gun owners and enthusiasts skeptical about their reliability and effectiveness. In tandem with these technological advancements, the debate about gun control has intensified. On one side, advocates for stricter gun laws argue that they are necessary to reduce gun violence and accidental shootings. On the other side, gun rights advocates argue that these laws infringe on their constitutional right to bear arms. This debate, fraught with emotion and political tension, continues to shape the future of guns in the 21st century. As we continue to advance technologically, the future of guns remains a topic of intense debate and speculation. From the fire lances of ancient China to the smart guns of the 21st century, the history of firearms is a fascinating journey. We've traversed through time, from the discovery of gunpowder, an alchemic accident that led to a revolution in warfare. We've seen the evolution from the imposing cannons, the game changers of the battlefield, to the advent of handheld firearms, democratizing the power of destruction. Then comes the birth of modern guns, a product of human ingenuity and technological advancements, shaping conflicts and peace alike. The 20th and 21st centuries brought us to an era of rapid advancements. From automatic weapons to smart guns, firearms have become more precise, more powerful, and more controversial than ever before. As we look to the future, one thing is certain: the story of guns is far from over. They will continue to evolve, as will the debates surrounding them, making the history of guns a tale that's being written even as we speak.